On May 15, 2007, a crazed suspect, armed with a sword, entered the grounds of a Korean church and school located off the 210 freeway in Foothill Division. The suspect attacked and sliced the arm of a staff member and started 11 fires throughout the grounds. Foothill officers responded within minutes and chased the suspect and stopped their pursuit once he fled into a large storm drain. Metro Canine units responded to the location and searched the nearby hillside, but were unsuccessful in locating the suspect. Unbeknownst to the officers, the suspect had stabbed an innocent victim at a nearby 7-Eleven market weeks earlier. The following day, Detective Chris McKinney and Officer Rodolfo Rodriguez returned to the location to search for the suspect. As they searched near the 210 freeway, they examined the bridge that stretched across the dry riverbed. They located a small access panel under the bridge and found a confined space large enough for someone to walk in. Using their flashlights, they entered and discovered they could walk the length of the dark tunnel, which was divided into 3 sections. Approximately 285 feet into the tunnel, they approached the last section, at which time they noticed a blanket hanging over the opening at the far end. As Detective McKinney, on his hands and knees, moved the blanket to one side, the suspect swung a 17-inch machete down within inches from his face. McKinney immediately rolled onto his back and braced for a second attack. Fearing for his life, McKinney fired one shot, which struck the suspect and stopped the threat. On November 30th, 2014, at approximately 0800 hours, veteran officers Stuart J. and Jose Granados, assigned to Hollywood Division, responded to a radio call of a burglary from a motor vehicle suspect.
Any Hollywood unit, a burglary from motor vehicle suspect there now, Lemon Grove east of Wilton on the north side of the street. It's code 2 incident 1024RD645.
Upon arrival, they observed the suspect inside the vehicle on the north side of the street. Unbeknownst to both officers, the suspect was wanted for a recent murder of an Oregon State weighmaster and was considered to be armed and dangerous. Officer J stopped their patrol vehicle to conduct a high-risk stop. The suspect suddenly emerged from the vehicle and ran past the officers. Both officers exited their vehicle and began to pursue the suspect on foot. Realizing that the suspect was starting to get away, Officer J decided to go back to their vehicle in order to close the gap with the suspect. As Officer Granados continued to pursue the suspect on foot, a taxi stopped and asked him if he needed a ride. Officer Granados entered the vehicle and continued after the suspect. As the officers exited both vehicles to deploy on the suspect, he suddenly produced a .45 caliber handgun and fired one round in Officer J's direction. Both officers returned fire, striking the suspect multiple times, stopping his deadly behavior. On September 25, 1972, at approximately 0045 hours, Officers Donald Foster and Dennis Shearer just finished their shift and were on their way home separately. While in the area of 53rd and York, both officers saw smoke and flames leaping 100 feet in the air from an apartment building in the 5300 block of Lincoln Avenue. As Officer Shearer arrived, he activated a fire alarm and joined Officer Foster, who was already engaged in evacuating the residents and facilitating their safe exit. As the building became engulfed in flames, both officers, without hesitation and with disregard to their personal safety, entered different apartments in search of those in need of rescue. Officer Shearer opened a door to an apartment and found it filled with smoke. He grabbed a blanket to shield his face from the flames and crawled through the apartment, but was turned back due to the extreme heat. During this time, Officer Foster ran from door to door, evacuating the remaining residents. On several occasions, he found the apartments to be fully engulfed, but entered at his own peril. Both officers continued their life-saving efforts until the fire department arrived on scene. On November 27, 2011, at 0338 hours, a broadcast came over Southeast frequency.
Southeast units are shooting in progress, 93rd and Clovis, 9-3 in Clovis. The suspect vehicle is a gray Nissan with 4 male occupants. It's code 3, incident 888-RD1824. Southeast units handle, identify.
This was the third call of shots being fired at this location within the last few hours. On each of the previous occasions, responding patrol units were unable to locate the involved suspects. Blocks away, officers Matthew Sikorsky and Rodrigo Lopez could hear several shots being fired. Upon arrival, the smell of gun smoke permeated the air, but they were unable to locate the suspects. Believing the suspects were still nearby or would once again return, several officers remained in the area. Officers Sikorsky and Lopez tactically parked their police vehicle in a nearby alley and exited to set up surveillance. Within 5 minutes, while on foot, they observed a vehicle traveling eastbound on 93rd Street toward their location. As they moved to get a better view of the approaching vehicle, they heard several rounds being fired and observed muzzle flashes. Realizing they were being fired upon, Sikorsky and Lopez drew their service pistols and fired upon the approaching vehicle. At this point, the suspect's vehicle turned north on Clovis Avenue and fled from the location. Officer Lopez broadcast the suspect's vehicle description and direction of travel. A nearby patrol unit observed the suspect's vehicle and initiated a pursuit. Sikorsky and Lopez had re-entered their vehicle and joined the pursuit as the secondary unit. During the pursuit, the suspects threw a semi-automatic rifle out of their vehicle. The vehicle slowed, and 2 of the occupants exited and attempted to flee on foot, but were quickly arrested by responding units. The vehicle continued for a short distance until the suspects turned into an alley. At this point, they were blocked by patrol units, and the remaining 2 were then taken into custody. It was discovered that one of the suspects had been shot during the gun battle. A criminal history check on the suspects revealed they were all members of a Southside Florencia 13 gang. They had prior convictions for attempted murder, voluntary manslaughter, kidnapping for ransom, and carrying loaded firearms. These 8 officers are to be commended for their dedication and bravery. Their willingness to confront life-threatening danger was above and beyond the customary demands of duty, and their actions exemplify the highest standards and expectations of the Los Angeles Police Department. The Los Angeles Police Protective League is proud to present these heroes with the Distinguished Service Award.